Saturday, it's April 9th, 2022. I'm watching See the BS this morning, or CBS Mornings, whatever. They actually, for once, they put on a piece about the Masters, which I watched, and it was not Tiger Woods centric. It was pivotal in the sense of it took a grander look at some of from like the early 19th century with a brief, a synopsis, which I thought was interesting. They made mention of somebody by the name of Gary Player from South Africa, first one not to bring the green jacket back. And it had a 1978 in his disobedience to the Masters. I don't know. Again, that was somewhere in the year of bicentennial. Also the year that I arrived. What's more concerning to me, however, because these men of Masters have this lifestyle, they're still able to dress and walk and stand upright. They still have their class and status and stature and self-worth, all of which has been stripped here in the field at this level of where I've been held in MIA POW. So I'm watching the Tony Hawk. I only know him as he's a skateboarder in like a theoretical outside piece. Haven't followed his career. If he walked next to me on the street, I'd have no idea who he was, because I don't recognize, facial recognition doesn't pick up on it. I haven't been following careers. But what concerns me about this piece is his athleticism and his professionalism and his moving physics project that he is always just almost like a surfer going through 100-foot wave, and your timing has to be so precision, and because the water is coming over in a tunnel. That's what friction and the air piece of, like he says he's flying, it's almost like doubled over between the two spatial relations. He's like right on the cusp, and now he's missing, professional, award winner, whatever, but now he's missing some of the air time. They show him falling, and that just is scary to me because again, I'm having problems with my heart timing and my distal pulse timing. So it's centric and then it's radial timing piece. And I'm looking for pieces of other nature or naturals in their natural state, and he's one of them, which frightens me because at a professional level, it gives validation at one level, but the other thing is I'm a G under. My mother's last name was Gunder. That's how I was born, as a cat, or Cattaruzza, or Taruzza. So, but there's G over, and then there's a 6 foot under, and then under 6 foot. Big difference in actuality. I have to think about this because now again it's like a thing that just loses you. Oh, when there was an actual event I was at, and I know that there were witnesses there, when Kenneth Dean and Amanda got married, there was a barbecue of some sort or some kind of get together for a meal that we went to. Jason, 1976, was there. I got really sick. My stomach bloated up and it was intense pain. I was doubled over. I don't know why the episode happened, but it happened, and there were witnesses there. I don't know who they were. They were all Ken and Amanda's friends. And so, but I was at that wedding, and I mean, I could barely even sit upright. It was doubled over in pain. It almost felt like a torsion of the intestines, even though it wasn't in this phantomous pain of doubled over. But that goes back to the air friction at aerospace, where we're not always in just one set of calculus or arithmetic in layman's terms. And sometimes it's not supposed to, but as of late, due to whatever reason, there's been very markedly absurd sounding, but real physicality pain. And that's a problem. But it's an ongoing problem because that was around, I think, 98, 99 when that wedding took place.
My mom used to like to tell the story that when she would play tennis with me, I would purposely just try to hit her with the balls.
I kind of feel like that's what the television's doing at the moment. I feel like they're just throwing me all of this real world stuff or conversations that are going on that I'm not a part of being here. And I'm just trying to pick up and sequence out the difference that I've been withheld from.
She scolded me at one point. She's like, I think you were trying to hit me, Tony. I'm not going to play with you. You're just trying.
The new HBO documentary Tony Hawk Until the Wheels Fall Off has no shortage of thrills, but also shows a more vulnerable side of the legendary skateboarding champ. His superstar status was affirmed at the Oscars last month when he appeared with surfer Kelly Slater and snowboarder Shaun White, all considered.
Now, I have never heard of the other two. I've only heard of Tony Hawk, and I don't even know why Tony Hawk's name rings such a bell for me.
Considered icons of their sports, but that doesn't mean they're superhuman. Our Jamie Wax met up with Hawk at the halfpipe where in uncharacteristic fashion, Hawk recently fell and broke his leg.
So, exactly 2.5 weeks ago,
Yeah.
I was doing a McTwist right here.
Ugh.
And now some might argue, which I won't listen to, that it's part of aging, that it's part of the cycle of life, that these things happen as you get older or you go into your whatever. No, it's not. Those are excuses made by people who are enjoying some level of lifestyle that they don't even want to inquire about real life situations and their obligation under it's hemorrhagic at this point, honestly, with what you can get humans to actually congregate and do and what's needed of them. I mean, that's what it feels like.
And I don't think I had enough speed, and I thought that would be okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the full spin that I needed, and I still tried to force it on the wall, and I got tangled up and ended up crashing pretty much right here.
In the world of skateboarding, we expect to see Tony Hawk make nothing but perfect landings. But a new HBO documentary
This is for sleep apnea. Person who, like yesterday, said he ordered a survey and then it came back that his breathing and timing mechanic. Sometimes in the field you're observed in a quiet manner and there are things documented for quiet area with more concerning things yet still on the horizon with fights that are either ongoing or yet to be had. I was on a flight in a twilight, whatever, because I got hit by a needle on an airplane. And I don't know which airplane it was. Again, when you get abducted by some force, I don't know whose. They sometimes say alien, but it was a commercial flight, or an Airbus, I'm not sure. I just walked down the terminal, got on the plane. So when things like that happen, and then it's almost untraceable from a couch potato perspective, and it may be on document, it might not be. How does one even inquire? And you can't even remember at times. There was something about a conversation in the distance that I heard about that even though it was fed marshals, there was a seize and an overseas issue because they were not actually going to be flying over oceanic territory, qualifying it for that overseas category that some of the whatever had been taking advantage of. And it was being looked into, but again, unless you have advanced or prior knowledge of who's on the itinerary or docket or who's being tracked or monitored or whatever for whatever reason, it perhaps was when I was going between the inner corridor of the United States towards Canada, but it also could have been when I was going towards Mexico. I'm not sure. But I wouldn't have been flying over open water unless they redirected the flight path purposely to then schnook under that technicality. But that's really frightening on passengers that just get on the flight and they don't really know. They rely on the pilot, the air traffic control, and the G over men, especially as a G under. Usually humans are somewhere at 6 foot under or under 6 feet.
Starts with the legendary skater repeatedly unable to land a trick.
I was willing to get hurt along the way, but I didn't visualize myself getting hurt along the way.
How open were you to showing these moments of falling and also these deeply personal details that are in this documentary?
The skating to me is just that's what I do. So I didn't really think of that being of great interest. I chose to try to do a 900. Well, probably what is for the last time. It took a little bit longer for me to get to it than I thought, and there was a lot of crashes, and he went through it in real time, and no one had really shown interest in doing that because who wants to see a bunch of bales, you know?
Sam Joe?
Yeah, he wants to see it. He's documenting it. I guess he's the eyewitness or the God's witness. I don't know. It depends on how that they pair that up.
Jones did. The respected photographer and documentarian is the film's director and a skateboarder himself.
Why did you choose to open with that?
When we think of Tony Hawk and when we've seen Tony Hawk, we think of those moments of triumph, and we always see Tony landing these tricks and doing incredible things. And what I think gets lost in that sometimes is how hard it is, how much work it takes, how much dedication, how much pain you go through. And that footage, when we first looked at it, it was so compelling. It told us so much about his heart.
Sure, you can show humble beginnings, and determination and things, but I feel like that struggle has carried me through all the way to my adult life.
The film documents the early days of skateboarding and how Tony Hawk's family helped him find what he was meant to do.
They tried all these sports, and all of a sudden your brother brings you to a skate park, and you say, oh, maybe this is it.
Kinda, yeah. When I saw...
Now, this is where they did a brief history on this Masters golf course thing that I haven't been a part of, but I know to someone like American Rust, who has significance for me growing up, in a distal way, more Lehman. This is very important to that level of American or American.
And I always described it as a blur. You don't really, you go through the process. You're walked in, pushed here, da-di-da, this, that.
44 large, 44 long. 43. 43? Congratulations.
Thanks, Alex.
Tremendous.
Thanks so much.
Cold hands and everything.
Everything's covered.
I'm all tied up.
Because you come in, you're in a fog. I mean, you just won the Masters, for crying out loud. 2 minutes maybe, and you're in here going through everything, and people want to pull. And then so I sat there on my own phone and got all emotional.
Jim mentioned, he said that you will see the toughest guys.
Yeah.
Right now, I feel like you're
I'm
getting
cracking up already.
because it's the everything for you.
Well, this is a symbol of. God, look at me, I'm gone. It's a symbol of working damn hard for a dream.
I think that's beautiful.
The green jacket was first seen at Augusta National's golf club in 1937.
See, this is my favorite. When gentlemen were gentlemen, they were able to dress gentleman-like. Now everything is like pajamas. It's just cloth thrown at like the animals, and it's totally forgotten about. There's no tailoring. It's disgusting to live here. It's like living in a garbage can, just trying to paw through the merchandise to find something that fits, and it doesn't even fit well as you break apart biologically. It is the most horrific way to live. It's inhumane.
7. The idea of Masters co-founder Cliff Roberts. But it wasn't for champions. Club members wore the blazers so the public could identify them during the tournament. The first Masters champion awarded a green jacket
Sammy can take 3 putts and still win, but
was Sam Snead in 1949.
Sammy Snead wins the Masters tournament, and congratulations.
As for the jacket itself, it's made of worsted wool, a classic 3-buttoned, single-breasted and center-vested blazer. A logo of Augusta National Golf Club is sewn onto the left breast pocket. Each Masters winner gets only 1 jacket, no matter how many times they win. And the rules governing the use of the jackets are quite strict. Taking them off the Augusta National premises is strictly forbidden, with one important exception. The reigning Masters champion can take the jacket home, keeping it until the next year's tournament, and where they wear it is entirely up to them. Jordan Spieth wore his
No idea who that guy is.
jacket on the David Letterman show. Phil Mickelson got caught with his...
Now, his name I've heard, but only because of Jack Nicholson, who's like the best... He's like the dad you want in that uniform, in that courtroom for A Few Good Men against Tom Cruise. Like, he's the dad you want. Like, he's the one that makes you feel safe. And if you're a woman or a girl, or at least for me, I want to hide behind while he's doing a dad thing and arguing on my behalf.
Is ordering donuts at a Krispy Kreme drive-thru. And Sergio Garcia decided to
Never even heard of this guy.
get married in his.
Winner of the Masters in 1961 and again in 74.
South African Gary Player is the one golfer who broke protocol, taking...
Never heard of this guy until today. Only South African I've ever heard of or ever met is Jonathan Horowitz, who was my pediatrician and Benjamin's pediatrician here in Bayside.
taking his green jacket back to his homeland and failing to return it the next year.
Won my first Masters in 1961. I was so thrilled I took this jacket back home and it's in my cupboard and not even Mr.
And it says, Gary, this is how they have him layered or labeled, only foreign player to win Masters. 1961 to 1974. Interesting. 1975 and 1976 are absent within this number pattern. And then it jumps to 1978. Bicentennial. I wonder what was going on somewhere within the whatever.
Elaine is getting me to bring it back.
Straight in, Freddie.
What a wonderful way to speak to one another and to behave and to be able to carry oneself without having to fight the environment, the health problem, the timing problem, and all of the whatever circumstances that are thrown at you on the street. Now here's something that's not even in my, it's not even in my sights because it's in such a blind spot my entire life because I don't have access to this level of gym or tracking of one's own body movements and things, but I'm sure at some level of laboratory or lab, science lab of a life science like echelon that I was never allowed to get to for some reason, left here in Long Island in isolation. They put a commercial to take it out of my blind side or blind sight and put it into some form of visual, like this is what some of the humans have been up to while you've been held in that really terrible situation.
Neutrogena for people with skin.
This thing, this makes me get an ice bath again.
What do you mean? These straps are mind-blowing. They collect hundreds of data points like HRV and REM sleep, so you know all you need for recovery. And you are? I'm an investor in Invesco QQQ, a fund that gives me access to NASDAQ 100 innovations like wearable training, optimization tech.
How long?
I'm done.
Become an agent of innovation with Invesco QQQ.
I find it interesting that on the silver, they put a G. There's a lot of 6 foot under walking around and a lot of under 6 foot walking around, making all sorts of claims.
I'm okay.
Before investing, carefully read and consider fund objectives, risk, charges, expenses, and more in prospectus at Invesco.com.
Wildfires have reached historic levels. As fires keep raging, the need to replant trees keeps growing. So Subaru is growing our commitment to protect the environment. In partnership with the National Forest Foundation, Subaru and our retailers are proud to help replant 1 million trees to help restore our forests.
Yeah, that's a problem because I don't know what they're planting, what seedlings they're using, saplings they're using, where they're planting them. It seems to be a real problem in actuality as I look around the faces of North America, and they no longer look North Face. I live in an area now that if I was speaking directly to Eastern Athletics Association in like a parasite, and I'm the host of what's in the Big Apple, that's within the Empire State, that's within the corridor interior design, and I know I have a North Face. It's really hard to find Eastern Athletics North Faces in this area. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, and right now I'm in Borough, Queens, BOROQUEENS. There's some kind of borough president. I don't know who elected him or how he even got that position. He looks more like this Masters Club Tiger Woods than he does North Face and Eastern Athletics. And then there's some guy calling himself a senator. No idea what club he comes from, because I don't even see Masters with a green jacket reference to say what he might, his alter ego might look like. I don't even have a reference. But my main concern is this doubled over, and this problem, Tony Hawk, with timing and hitting his mark as he catches air and comes back down. Being that he's in his I think they said he's in his 6th decade. I'm only in my 4th, but I've been experiencing problems here since my 1st decade in this fallout shelter in New York, with very little integration and information. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And I don't even, do I ask at this point for Io Mi Io? Because I don't even think Italia is the way to go. From what I see that they're linking up between that and Ukraine, they look more Mediterranean than they do Italian to me. But again, I'm from the north in the mountains, or at least my genetics are. So this movement thing for references over a long term gets really difficult to try to not besiege, or to try to besiege what I see and what they're, but how do you keep on pace? Again, it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361, Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And then it goes back real quick to the untraceable crimes, or, untraceable interception of crimes. And then your inability, so now you're moving throughout this system where there's something functioning just outside of your scope of reality, but you are completely reliant upon it for your safety and for observation, and then their ability to be successful in their field. Now, this is interesting. First time I've ever heard it. With the Ukraine, they're saying this gentleman, he's got a call sign, which I've never heard of, and he's got but they sound pattern Starsky, so it's STAR and SKY put together in a label, and they pronounce it. But now that's interesting, because the only time I've ever heard that pattern used in New York, in the Big Apple, within the Empire envelope of Empire State, within this corridor and this interior design where I am, is there was a TV show I never watched called Starsky and Hutch, HUTCH. I don't know the connection, but I know that I've heard that through Linda's voice and over or understate, because she's a G under, and I come from the G under, as the Cattaruzza.
Russian-backed separatists in the Donbass region say they know what Russia is capable of. Senior Lieutenant Starsky, that's his military call sign, was there.
We've spent 8 years of learning.
And he says they have actually training 8 years, which is wonderful. They should. But why do my children not have, in this area, why do my children not have 8 years of training, or any training, or offered anything since youth? that gets confusing. How are they to protect themselves, their family? How are they supposed to integrate within community and society? This is the gentleman, and then this is the... I mean, these are all signs of something is seriously wrong here, and I don't know how to verbalize it. And I don't know what's working just on the outskirts of what you, just behind, like, around, but can't see. And it says that he's part of Ukraine National Guard. Which, again, here they just say National Guard. They don't say whose nation, because they wear one flag, but the faces are not Eastern Athletics and North Face. I mean, how is that ever going to... It sounds like more dangerous and contorted. It sounds like you're purposely trying to put people in danger with that type of system or that type of logic. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. So these are just like pieces of the puzzle over here. From a walking Ruzel, there's puzzle pieces that the one-dimensional or two-dimensional story piece is alerting me in some learning capacity for things that I might have been missed or been withheld from my person. Recall has been hard here. It depends on where I enter as to what I'm able to still connect with. I had an instance where there was somebody very pine box, like I use the word beautiful or handsome, but I don't know as a number 7 what they prefer to be called. And so, but football was just easier, one word, because it's whatever. In that level of meaning, because otherwise it gets too convoluted and it gets too confusing based on the fact that there's so many sensory pieces that I'm trying to document, that I don't want other things being brought in to a conversation when they did not need to be. If my circumstances were different, then the conversation level would be completely different, because the integration and the interaction would be totally different. But based on the fact that I'm stuck here, doubled over in pain, and it's a consistent pain. I mean, I can see my skin is not even taut to stay upright. It's creasing where it shouldn't be. It's starting to double here. I mean, these are signs of people at magician department or the special secret science place losing control of really dangerous science programs, that the skin actually starts to fall off your face, almost like it's melting off your face, because there are scientists in positions that bought their way in for some kind of like fun game piece, it feels like. And I'm here doubled over in pain and with physical deterioration signs. And like there's no access to qualified medics. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. And the way that I document it by hand for myself at this point, it has something to do with these 4. I call it a calyx, a renal, medullary, for the moment, because I lack human integration with what their taught system is if they're even at that level. And this is a painting that actually has paradox.